Well, good afternoon. We've been at 12 people for a couple of minutes now, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Name's Paul Parks. We want to show you today the new STSX product. If you have any questions, you know, we have everybody muted because it would just be crazy with everybody trying to talk at the same time. You have a chat button you should be able to hit and send your questions to us. You can send it to everyone or you can send it directly to me. Doesn't really matter. When we see a question and Sherry's sitting here and pointing out to me that somebody has a question, we'll kind of pause and try to answer that question. I'll go ahead and get started on the application. So what we have on the main screen, hopefully everybody can see my screen. It looks like I'm broadcasting. And I am recording this session, so we will post this up someplace on the website or something like that. So if you want to review the movie, the video, you'll be able to do that later on. So what we have is our new product, STSX. The main difference between it and the existing STS product, it's browser-based. It's not the thick client that you usually have today. You install on your hard drive and it's located on your local server. We can do that. STSX, since it's browser-based, can be hosted really 3 different ways. Once on your own server, once in the cloud, your own cloud, or we can actually lease out sessions to, if we choose to go that way, we can host our own copy and then you contact us and log on, and then you would actually be part of the bigger database of other clients that are leasing it from us. We're kind of investigating that. We have that capability. We don't really know of anyone who really wants to pursue that. We honestly feel like most people are going to put it on their own server or on their own cloud source server so that everybody within your corporation can access it. So this is a typical login screen that you see here. And what I've fired up is what's called the Smart Client. So let me just go over that just real quick. Pulled in, we basically have 4 shortcuts. Not everybody will always have 4 shortcuts on their desktop, but you could. There is what we call the Smart Clients, and then we have what was called the Web Clients. The main difference is in a Windows environment, you would probably be better off running the Smart Client. It downloads basically a Java app to the local memory, so it runs a little bit faster. It's using the local CPU capabilities of your local PC to help the program run a little bit quicker. Web-based is exactly like what it sounds. Everything is executing off of your server. It's basically just painting screens. It'd be no different than if you logged in, say you had a Wells Fargo account. You're logging into the Wells Fargo account. That's purely a web page. There's nothing really going on in your own CPU other than maybe caching some temporary files, something like that. But all the processing is taking place on the server that's hosting the web service. Same with this. So you got Smart Client, Web Client. And what I have fired up just now is the Smart Client. So typical STS, we have a supervisor logon. I will go ahead and log in with that. And what I want to go to first is kind of showing you how the system is set up in terms of divisions and logons and different things. So the database, today we're using a PostgreSQL database. In this case, like in STS today, it's a FoxPro database. Can bolt on to SQL, but there basically has to be a lot of rewrite on our side to make that happen. This product is database independent. So if you own SQL, we can bolt on. If it's MySQL, okay. If you don't have a database or don't really care, we will by default install the PostgreSQL database that the software is based upon. But it really doesn't matter what database you have. Chances are our software can bolt on to it and use your existing database if you had one. The very first thing you always do is you set up your divisions. So it's a multi-tenant database. Technically, it's multi-tenant. That's how we can host it in the cloud and lease it out to company A or company B. And obviously, your data are all in one big database, but you don't see each other's data. Here, I've defined corporate. There's always a corporate division. And then there is, in my case, shop, North Shop, Test Shop, West Shop. Today, I'm going to be using West Shop for our demo. You can see here I have 50 licenses. And so far, I've distributed them through either the desktop or the mobile computers. So you can say if you have 10 licenses, you can do it in 5-5 split, or you can give more seats to the desktop and fewer seats to the mobile computer, or flip that. You can change this on a daily basis. I don't know why you would, but if you had some kind of audit going on where you're having everybody show up to use the mobile computers or their iPhones to do an audit of your inventory, you might flip everything to a mobile computer seat for that particular weekend. But you define how the seats are distributed based upon the number of seats that you have purchased. In the past, seats for desktops and mobile computers were different priced. Today, everything is the same because of this feature. So one day you can have 10 mobile computers, the next day you can have 10 desktops and 0 mobile computers. So all the seats are the same now, same price, because you can change where it's being used. And you just come in here and I'm Corporation P2P, and there's all the divisions I have. So everything is division specific. All work takes place on the division level. Corporate is mainly to set up maybe the division, set up maybe employees. It's not to do work. You can't fit welder QC or in ship from corporate. Corporate is looking down, so you could literally run a report across all the divisions if you wanted to look and see how much material you shipped across all your divisions. In my case, shop, north shop, test, and west shop. Or you can say, hey, what did west shop ship out today? I had one question. You're talking about changing the interface to Tekla, FabSuite, Tekla, EPM. No, our interface has not changed. We do bolt onto Tekla a little bit differently. Now we're using XML interface. Before we were using a DLL interface. And one of the advantages of the XML interface I'll show you here in a minute is that you all, as STS users, know that if sequencer lots change and you don't go into our database to make the changes to match the changes that happen in Tekla, when you re-import, you lose your old barcode number and you get a new one. Well, I'll show you here in just a minute that that doesn't happen anymore, and that's one advantage of the XML interface is you can go into EPM, change sequences, change lots. Basically, you go into our software, and we're thinking about making another feature just called like refresh our data, so nothing else is happening. But today, you act like you're re-importing, no big deal. You keep the same barcodes. It just because we're getting some additional data from EPM to enable us to keep those barcode numbers. So that's a pretty cool feature that's new in STSX, as well as all these divisions. The next thing I wanted to cover is show you the log-on access. This is where you set up all your logons. All your logons are associated with employees. So one downside to the new STSX is today in STS, if you're in the shipping department, you log on as ship. Or if you're in the QC department, it's QC, or in the SAW department, SAW. That's kind of gone because of the interface with EPM and this multi-tenant database and being able to keep track of all the sessions. Everybody has a unique login. You can duplicate logins, so it's not like you're having to recreate everything for everybody from scratch, but everybody has their own unique login. In the database, just like in STS today, you have logins and you have employees. All employees don't have to be associated with logins, but all logins have to be associated with an employee. So you can see here, like I'm going to be logging in as AP, in this case AP. I'm associated with Division West Shop, so everybody's associated with a particular division. I'm using Permission Group Shop, which there's a whole screen down in the system under this STS tab to set up what permissions you have. It's pretty elaborate, pretty deep. We've already made a video about that so that you can determine what to turn on or turn off. And again, on the same screen, we determine what mobile computer options this person has. In this case, I've checked everything. In reality, you wouldn't do that. If it's a SAW guide, the only thing you're going to give them SAW and a couple other screens, that's it. Shipping guide, same thing. But we're going to be doing everything today. Well, that's all. That's the login management. Eliminate the need to import information. No, STS doesn't eliminate the need to import, and you'll see why here in a bit, but it is different. It's radically different. For those folks who, in the audience that used to run FabTrol and then migrated EPM, you notice the difference in STS, the way you import data. In the FabTrol import, you present all the data, you made the decisions, how many labels top to bottom, then you hit import. In the EPM import, you went line by line as it did it. Well, because we're getting this extra data from EPM, you make the same decision just like you did in FabTrol. You make decisions up and down, you hit import, and literally you can walk away because you're done. And then when it's done, it's done. So, and that's kind of where I kind of mentioned we're thinking about a refresh feature where you're not really picking new labels or confirming the number of labels, an ability to just say, hey, for job 200, go refresh the data. So we're kind of playing with that idea right now. So because of this extra data we're getting, it makes that feature really, really possible. Before we couldn't do it. Permissions, don't want to go there. What I want to look at is view logon license info. We're actually fighting this issue earlier this week, yesterday to be exact. This is everybody who's logged into STSX. Whether they're running a web client, and I have one on my second screen, they're running the regular client or you know, other client. You can actually see who it is, what product they're actually running, how long they've been active or inactive. Right now, you notice this little bitty feature up here, right? Maximum login idle time 20 minutes. That's a preference setting. What happens is this, you can set this to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want to do. If you've consumed all your seats, say you have 10 seats, and 10 people are logged in, and you have your idle time set like this at 20 minutes. If somebody's been idle for 21 minutes and you're the 11th person to try to jump in and use STSX, if somebody's been idle for more than that time, it will kick them out and let you in. This applies to the desktop and to the mobile computers. So you can set that timeout to wherever you want it, but you don't have to run around through the company saying, hey, I need somebody to get out of STSX so that I can get in. But if they've been idle longer than that idle time, that preference setting, they're automatically kicked out. What I wanted to do was launch one more smart client, and you'll see that this screen's really pretty cool. I will launch another desktop session, and then I will kill it. And like I said, we fought this issue yesterday. We were running around trying to find, I wasn't, the client was running around trying to find who else was still in STS because we needed to update the system, and the poor guy didn't have access to the server to manage the server and kick everybody out. So I will log in as capital P again and P, this. And I'll hit refresh. There I am. I'm going to be the guy with the least amount of idle time. So that's my session right here in the background. I just logged in as P and P. I'm part of the corporate division. You kind of see where you are up here in your window title. I want to kick him out or everybody out. I just click over here, kill the client. Yes, you see the window disappeared. I hit refresh. That line is now gone. So you can actually kill everybody if we need to do an update or something like, or something's going on maintenance-wise. It's real easy to kick everybody out from this particular window, which is really a neat feature of STSX. So seeing all of that, and we've got internationalization. I'll just hit this real quick. It'll take a little bit to refresh. Right now we only have one database, English, but the only thing we really have to do is just send this database off to a third party, and they will make everything Spanish, and then you'll have a different language set than English, then you'll have access to Spanish and whatever else we happen to run across in installations. Right now, the only thing we have is English, but just a matter of sending it off, and then we've got another language database set. And it senses what your PC is set at. So if your PC is set at Spanish, it would automatically use the Spanish language set. Okay, I think that's it. So what I want to do is, well, let me just show you real quick. Another question, will STS be maintained and links to Tekla maintained? I'm not sure what that means, but everything, we still talk to Tekla the exact same way we do today. Well, yeah, STS, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the question is about STS. STS will essentially be, it's an EOL product, but If you want to keep on STS for the next 5 years, okay, fine. We will probably not be doing any more modifications to it other than bug fixes. So we're not going to be developing new stuff and all that kind of in STS, only in STSX. But if we find a bug, we'll fix it. That's no big deal. But all future development will be linked, leaning toward the STSX product. Hope that answered your question. Where did I want to go? I wanted to, maybe just show you employee. Oh, something else. This is basically, the new design is basically geared around maybe using a tablet, something where you don't have a mouse. Doing the typical STS, doing an import, export, import data, custom, KISS, you have to click several times. You'll notice here there is basically 4 major tabs. This is almost like a preference settings tab. But there's import, export, so it follows the same menu structure as STS. This is basically all the menu options underneath import, export. There's all the menu options. You'll recognize these. We do edit information, job info, the transactions, ship, and all that. Same headers, but you see within 2 clicks, you're on any screen in STSX. 2 clicks. You click on view info, click on view load. So 2 clicks, you're everywhere in the application. Just want to show you real quick employees. It's just the employee screen, and you can kind of see we've been playing. We're finishing up a module to port data from existing installations into STSX. That's something else was mentioned. All data will port over to the new application. So no worry, you're not going to lose anything. Everything is still there. You can actually look at all the logins. Kind of spread this a little bit, and that's something else about this since it's all browser-based. A lot of the window is resizable. Just about everything is resizable. Also, nothing is confined to the original window. Example I always use is like QuickBooks or even EPM. When you open up EPM, every window is confined within the 4 walls of the EPM window. Here, we're independent. We can click this and drag this off to the second monitor. Some windows we allow you to open up multiple times, so you can look at 3 different loads all at the same time. So, I want to pull this up. All columns, you click on them, they sort, ascending, descending. If I make this a little bit wider, you'll see that says West Shop. Come on, West Shop. Yeah, West, North, Test, Shop, and then Corporate. You can see this particular logo, the one I'm going to be using today, this employee, Anthony, he's part of West Shop. You can see here, this other one right here is part of Corporate. This one's Shop. And so you can kind of look at the employees where they are. All employee numbers are unique across the corporation. So if you have a North Shop and a South Shop, the employee number has to be unique across those 2 divisions. We call it, it's corporate. So I'm in corporation P2P. All employees are unique and all logins are unique because logins associated with employees and associated with divisions. So what I wanted to show right now, because in a typical flow of things, this is not where I'm getting into the regular scanner activity, is you would typically import the job into STS. This might be before the raw material, receiving the raw material, or not. They're kind of independent of each other. Today I'm going to act like importing is before raw material, but it really doesn't matter. But things like doing the fit and the welds and the QC, I'll show you. We've got really 3 different platforms I'm going to be showing you today how to perform all those transactions. But on this import, I've already imported a job. Actually, I need to log in. See, I'm still logged in as corporate. So I need to log in because, again, all work takes place at the division level. I'm logged into corporate. I cannot do this. So I will log out, hit the X, and I will log in as AP. Now you can see my name is Anthony. I'm part of the division West Shop. I'll go to my import screen and do the KISS file. I'll automatically get a drop down. You can use the drop down or you can type the number. It really doesn't matter. In this case, I've already brought the whole job in once. And what I want to show you today is I'm only going to bring in sheet 54 because it's a finite amount of data and you can see what's going on. Let's go look at this real quick in EPM. In EPM right now, I'm about to sequence, well, let me just show you. Right now, all the data in STS is underneath view info, view load. It's all underneath sequence sequence 2. So I'm going to say sheet 54. Oh, that's something else you'll notice here. You get to choose what you want. I can say sheet 54 and I can say sheet 55. That's what it does. So you have an opportunity to use multiple sheets, multiple sequences, something a lot of people have been asking for in the past. So I just want to look at sheet 54, get info. Of course, it's just getting the data in STSX. Browse, just like you do today. And you'll notice these, the ones I'm going to play with, these 4 right here. They're all on sequence 2 right now in STS. Okay, close this, go back to EPM, and I've already started this process. I want to unsequence 2 of those. Are you sure? Yes. And then I want to sequence 2 of these to sequence 3. So all this data was imported underneath sequence 2. And we all know existing STS today, you're about to get 2 new barcodes in the old product. So now I've got a 2-2 split, 2 on sequence 2, 2 on sequence 3. I will jump back over here and do my KISS import, and I only want to bring in sheet 54. And this is what's really different. It's more like the old FabTrol window. Okay, move this down a little bit. Actually make this a little bit taller. All right, you can see also what's different about STSX over STS. In STS, you can make barcodes for miners. Today, all of it is in you probably might not know, but in the background, they're in 2 different databases. Today, it's all one big database in terms of this information. So you can make a barcode for the M32 right here, or the P88, or the M200. You'll notice right here, this column says status, no import, because I've said I don't want to keep the miners because this is not checked. So I'm going to say hide everything that I'm not going to import. And now I'm down to just what's going to be imported. And because the existing data, everything was on sequence 2, you've got a C sequence here, and this one's saying create. Create 2 more of this 54P1 for sequence 3, right there. So what I'm going to do, and I've also excluded bolts up here and washers. So it remembers all that. That's sort of like a preference setting. So you can discard that stuff and not even try to make a barcode for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll hit import. Do you wish to apply settings? That's the same question you see today. Found route code, same question you see today. Proceed with import, same question. This one's a little bit different. Will actually let you make a backup of the database right before you import. I'm not going to do it, but you can say if you're bringing in a really big job with tons of changes and you're just afraid that something might go wrong, you can always make a backup before you import it. Execute a backup, no. Okay, the import's done, and this is what I mean by you just make all your choices here and then you're done. And you don't look at each line item like you do today. So let's go back to the view load right here. Oh, something else. If this is in the background like here, open views, these are all the open views to STS. If it's not minimized, if it's minimized because it's a web page, we lose control. So you can't click on it. But if you've got a bunch of windows open, you click on view loads, it brings it to the foreground. Just like if you're in this window and you click on the STS, it brings the main window into focus. Again, as long as they're not minimized, it will bring them back into focus. So I'm going to only bring in, I'm just going to look at the data for sheet 54. Before, everything was on sequence 2, and I know the barcode numbers, what they were. So look at this. Now these 2, barcode 35 and 36, it was 34, 35, 36, and 37, all on sequence 2. Now the middle 2 became sequence 3. That's because in FabSuite, when you flip them, it flips some data in the background telling us these 2 got moved to sequence 3. The other 2 stayed on sequence 2. So the barcodes didn't change, 34, 35, 36, and 37. Just for grins, I'm going to flip it back. I'm going to choose 3. I'm going to unsequence those. Are you sure? Yes. And then I'll put these back on sequence 2. Now all 4 are back on sequence 2. I will then go over here, I'll close that, and I'll actually go back to my import just real quick. Import, yes. I want to bring in sheet 54 again. Just showing you the numbers don't change. Okay, hide my items. Now, see it says 4, sequence 2. But it's telling me something's changed, sequences changed or something like that. I'll do import. Oh, something here. This is where you make all the decisions. I guess I should labels needed. It's using the preference setting of 30. Again, that's a preference setting. And you set how many labels you want for those items. So you can go down. I always usually sort these by the greatest quantity at the top, and you go down the list and decide what you want to do with each line item, and then you hit import. So you're not processing each line, waiting for it to hit the line for you to answer the question. You make all those decisions up front, and then you hit go. File settings, yes. Route codes, yes. Proceed, yes. Back up, no. Complete. Go back here, refresh my info. Go back to browse. And see, now all of these are back on sequence 2, and it's still barcode 34, 35, 36, and 37. I didn't lose my numbers. Now what I want to do is go ahead and let's receive a couple of pieces. So we'll run through all the steps that typically STS would do with EPM in terms of raw all the way through shipping. So what I want to do is go into EPM first and go in, open up the purchase order. I've already pre-populated a purchase order. Purchase order, receiving reports. Those of you who do barcoding raw material, you are familiar with this process. I'm going to do C's and maybe a plate. And I want to do barcode checklist, hit view. And there's my report. And it's only one page. And I will go ahead and print this out. Well, I've already printed this out, but I'll leave this up so that we can kind of watch it. So just like we trained today, usually you're doing this, the initial receipt of raw material on the PC so that you can capture the heat numbers. Back in the day when we originally designed the receiving processes to be used on the mobile computer outside, found out real quick the guys can't type heat numbers to save their life, especially during the winter when they're wearing gloves. So today we break it in 2 steps. One is you do a logical receipt in the office. So you receive it to a location like 999, something bogus that everybody can filter out of the reports. You know, just everybody agrees whatever that is. And then you do a logical receiving material. And then when the material physically arrives, the guys go outside with the truck. They've got a handful of labels. They've got the regular paperwork. And then they basically stick on the label and then shoot it and move it to a real inventory location. So what I will do is I will fire up the smart client because we're going to be sitting at your PC. And again, the smart client is probably the better way to go because it's a little bit faster than the true web client doing all the processing off the server. Checklist receive. Something else about, let's kind of pause a little bit. Something else, the difference between the smart client and a web client is the web client, you can actually resize the screen. So this is basically the same thing on the menu, but this is truly what they call the web client. In other words, these last 2 icons on the right. Okay. And the advantage of this is if you're somebody who can't see very well, the advantage of a web page is the only thing you have to do is do a control and hit the plus sign, and everything gets bigger on the screen. And that's just a function of a regular web browser. If you have a web browser, you can do control plus sign, and it increases the magnification on that particular window. And you can see right now I'm at 150%. So if you have a problem seeing the screen on this, especially like out in the shop, if you're at a Copper machine or a Python or something like that that has a PC on it, you can probably actually use the web client and blow it up. So it's a little bit easier to see. And control minus takes you back down to 100%. There's nothing you can do on the smart client. It just won't do it. Can't resize it. So I'm in checklist receive. The main difference here is the cursor never moves from the top line of the screen. Everything is prefixed. So except the barcodes on the piece marks on your steel, that 10-digit number doesn't have to be prefixed. We intentionally designed it this way because we don't want you to have to reprint all your labels in your shop. But the login labels and your employee labels and your stations, we'll have to reprint those. But that's very minor compared to relabeling every piece of steel in the shop. So you can tell the prefix characters are C for location, O for origin, L for bill of lading, RC, that's the RC barcode off the paperwork right here, bundled, finalized, remarks, heat, and quantity. So this is the way it typically would happen is you sit down at your PC, location, remember I said some bogus location, and it doesn't matter whether it's uppercase or lowercase. The next one I'll do O, and I'll do USA. And I'll leave bill of lading. You can see the yellow ones are required. The white ones are not. It's good information, but it's not required. Barcode, so I will actually scan the RC barcode. So in this case, I'm going to be scanning RC 555. And I've got a USB scanner. That's kind of the way we train everybody now, is you have a little bit USB scanner. And I will scan RC 555. And it echoes it down to the RC line. The default is bundled no, so we're looking to create one barcode each. Finalize is no, because you can finalize this line item. That's a new feature in STSX. You can put in remarks, it's wet, it's damaged, it's rusty, whatever. Then you do the heat. I'm going to do heat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the quantity is how many did I get? Did I really get 3 or did I only get 2? So I'll do the Q3. I'm going to get 3 barcodes. You can kind of see down there ordered 8 remaining. I've turned on the feature to automatically print out the labels, so you just saw that message just come out. So it just literally printed my 3 barcode labels. So I'm going to run across and go and grab those. Let me go ahead and receive another item. Let me receive this C10. So you see everything stays the same unless I want to change it. So the days of arrowing up and down the screen, which is pretty much the only way we control the mobile computers with the Wavelength product, here you can change it on the fly. There's no arrow up or down anymore. You just change the character. So in this case, I want to scan the 614 heat number, and I'll keep these right here. Heat number is ABC 123, quantity 1. And then for grins, I will receive one of these pieces of plate. I'm not sure we'll cut it, but it's really no different whether we're receiving plate or anything else. I have a piece of plate I've already received earlier if we want to cut it. So you just keep going until you're finally done. So if I go look in EPM, those items have been received. If I go look in STS, they're there also. We see view info, reports, raw material labels. I want to only look at job NP 2120. In this case, I just want to look at, say, the C6 by 8.2. And I hit print. There's those 3 that I just received. They were all 60 footers. And there's the RM number. Something else, it's also an STS. But in STSX also you can change the length of your raw material number. Typically it's like 12 digits is the default, but now there's a preference setting saying I want it something really smaller. RM stands for raw material, 20 means 2020, and then in this case you got 3 zeros and 183. So it's much shorter, but again, that's a preference setting. You can change it on the fly. I would recommend just picking a number and just sticking with it. I don't know why you want to change week to week, but technically you could. So I've received that raw material, so obviously if I reran my report, those lines would be gone now from Fab Suite. Then I want to go and grab what would typically happen is the guys would go grab a mobile computer and they're standing outside to receive that raw material. So I'll go ahead and hit close here. To receive that raw material, so I'm going to grab my Smart Client, move it off the screen, not clutter things up. Here's actually the screen on a mobile computer. I have a 9090 sitting here on my desk. This is just a screen captured CE remote display. If I've ever used that on any of my support phone calls, same thing. It's that CE display right there. So in some of the quotes we've given you, we're talking about having to use enterprise browser and a SIM card. Basically, the mobile computer, even the brand new ones, if you paid $3,000 or $2,500 for a brand new mobile computer, the browser on those units is so old it cannot do HTML5. We've got to be able to handle HTML5. So one of the lines we quote you, if you want to continue using your mobile computers, which is fine by us, you have to buy enterprise browser. So that's one of the line items, and a SIM card for it to go on. So I'm going to launch browser just so you kind of see what it looks like. But this is truly a 9090 that I'm screen mirroring with. Okay, and I've got it set up to run a couple of different ways. Typically, you're only going to have one STS Mobile, probably Wi-Fi or something like that. I won't choose Wi-Fi. Okay, I've got to log on, and I can, because it's a mobile computer, I can use my barcodes and pick up the mobile computer. You probably just heard me pull it out of the cradle. AP, and scan my other barcode AP. And because it's got its own keyboard, no keyboard pops up when I click on an import field because it's got its own keyboard, unlike an iPhone, which you'll see here in a little bit. So I will go down to inventory move, which is typically what you would be doing if you did the logical receipt on the PC and then grab the mobile computer. And this is the point where you peel off the label, stick it on the piece still, and say it's physically here in location yard or something like that. So I'm going to do an inventory move. Now, because my login is associated with an iPhone, I have two entries at the top. It bounces between the two. It really doesn't matter where you are. I can turn that off for my login, but in this case, my login, I'm going to be using iPhone here a little bit. So on an iPhone, it's just one of those type deals. We didn't write an app. It's actually a browser page. We didn't want to maintain 500 different applications, one for Android, one for iPhone, one for whatever. So it's really a browser page. On the iPhone, you have to have some place to go. It will not handle just one input prompt like the Smart Client can on the Windows. So we've always got to have some place to go, and that's why I've turned that on. So there's two entries. So I want to do C location. I just want to put this in the yard. So I've got a barcode here that says yard. So I'll scan C yard. And then I want to scan my inventory barcode, my RM barcode that I just received and just printed out. So I will take and move these. And what I'll do, just for kicks and grins, I will call up, and you guys know it does this, but I'm going to pull up inventory, do job 2021, and current location is 999. So I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. So it's some of these right down here, the C6 by whatever. So I'm going to move some of these from 999 to yard. So bring my, so you can see what I'm doing. And that's it. So now they're physically here. And you can see, just like usual, there's nothing magic about this. The STS does the exact same thing as STSX. The data is pushed automatically to EPM. So now they're really in yard. So now when you run your reports, you always want to exclude 999 from like inventory reports because it's really not here. It's bogus. It's a logical receipt, not a physical receipt. So I've received my raw material. Now the next thing I have to do is cut it. Close this, and I'll actually close this. So here is my job, NXP 2021. We were joking yesterday, this seems to be as much an EPM demo as it is an STX demo. And I want to go to purchasing and go to reports. And again, I want to limit this down just to those 2 or 3 pieces that I received. So I received some C's and some plates. Do OK. Make a report. And I want to do cutting list with barcodes. That's the one. This one works only on material that's been received. This is for everything that's on order. We have a couple of clients that were up in Kansas City area that actually, when they created the requisitions, purchase orders to the supplier, they printed out the cut list at the exact same time, literally just seconds apart from each other. And the existing report really didn't help, wouldn't do anything. It would come up blank. So FabSuite EPM has gone in and created one on order, so you can print out the cut list at the exact same time as you print out the PO to send to the vendor. I only want things that I've received, so I chose that one. Okay, what I want to do is cut some items that I do a restock. I'm not really that interested in something that's not that actually goes back into stock. So let's start looking for my 6 point. There's a 10. I don't want that one. The C6 8.2. And you can tell some of these I've got set up for restock. Some of them I don't. I've gone into EPM and set preferences on some of my shapes, but not all of my shapes. 6 8.2. 8.2. 8.2. That's a scrap. There's a restock. I don't have that one in front of me. 8 point scrap, 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 restock. Okay, and this one's nice because I have 2 piece marks out of it. My preference settings right now I've turned on. There's 2 different ways to print labels in STS for the piece marks, for the 72G6 and the 71G4. Is you manually go into software and say print these labels. It's done. The other way is you turn on the feature called On Demand, and this is available in STS as well as STSX. It's in both products. I've turned it on to print these out when I cut the piece of steel. Usually to do this, though, you have to have a printer generally located close to the guys that are doing this cutting, because you don't want them walking 100 yards to go get a label. So people that only have one printer, usually they pre-print the label, send it out with a cut list. Folks who have purchased a 2nd or 3rd or 4th printer, they're located in the area near where it's being cut, so they don't have to walk quite so far. So I'm going to cut this piece right here. It's 4511. Now, I'm going to unmaximize this, get it a little bit smaller, move this thing over here, and I want to go ahead and close this, and just minimize this, kind of clean things up a little bit. And I'm going to take my real physical mobile computer, get rid of it, and I'm going to bring on my iPhone, and then you'll see why here in a second. So this is an iPhone. This is my phone. Obviously, it says Paul's phone top left. And the advantage of this is the advantage of the STSX product. It can run anything with a browser. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, or you've got a Windows tablet or some other kind of tablet, it should be able to run on it. So we're not confined to just the mobile computers anymore. If it supports a browser, chances are it can run. Okay. Now, all of you have heard me tell the story how iPhones are horrible scanning devices. They're built to take pictures of people, text, but for scanning like you do when you're shipping or fitting or welding or in the shop, I'm not a real big fan of the iPhone because the camera's just not that great. But there's kind of a workaround. And let me show you that. That is an Opticon, and probably I've quoted this to some of you on your quotes. We suggest that you buy this and pair it through Bluetooth with your phone, your iPad, your phone, it'll pair with, Samsung phone, whatever. This one's a little bit different. I bought the iPhone version of it because it's this little bitty button right here, right there. There's the scan button. So when you hit that, the laser comes on. And this one's an imager, so you'll see why, is I'm going to scan these barcodes on my computer screen. A lot of people don't like printing out the cut list. Everybody's trying to go paperless, which is great. So I'm going to use this. And this little feature right here, yeah, somebody's snagging my paper away. It'll pop up the keyboard or not. It'll hide the keyboard. And that's my main complaint about devices that don't have keyboards, is the keyboard pops up and conceals half your screen, 40 to 50% of your screen. So that's the reason I like something like the mobile computer, because it has a keyboard and you've got 100% of your screen. All right. So I'll flip back to my login. and I'm going to use my Opticon, and I'm going to scan my login barcode. And it's always kind of funny the very first time I do this. Sometimes it goes to the next line, sometimes it doesn't. I don't understand why, but and I'll log in. And I'm running my iPhone right now off of an IP address. I'm not running TrueCell, but I can because I'm sitting in my office. It's just easier to run off my Wi-Fi. So my URL is an IP address. It's not sts.p2programs.com. So I will do my drop down, and I want to go to cut list. And this is just a feature of iPhones, and it's called a spinner. I wish we could do a full menu. It just won't do it. I don't know why. It's just welcome to iPhone, the iOS operating system. Okay, so now I'm on my typical screen. So I will just take and I will click on the screen to get the focus on the entry, and you'll see the cursor bounce between the two. It doesn't matter which one I'm on. It just has to have somewhere to go. So status code, I'm going to do a cut. So I'm going to scan my little S barcode cut. You can see it strips off the S and it's just cut. Location, I'm going to say I'm standing in the saw bay, and I'm using this little USB scanner. Now the CL, I want to scan this one right here because I want to restock 8'6". So I'm going to take the Opticon and I'm going up. I got the wrong one. No big deal. Watch. I'll just scan the one I really, really want. No cursoring up and down or anything. It understands the CL as part of the EPM paperwork, so it knows where to go. Cut strike through is yes. Print cut list in other words, print out the barcodes. Yes is the default. And that's if your preference settings say yes. If your preference settings say no, that will say no. It will, even if it says yes, if your STSX preferences say no, it won't do it. The software overrides the desktop software. Now it wants to know what is the RM number that I'm using to consume against this line item. And of course, I'm looking for a C8.2 and 60 foot long. So I'll scan one of my barcodes, a 184 barcode. And it just, what you can't see is my laser printer just kicked off. That was the pause. And I'm now getting out my piece mark labels. I read those, yeah. That was the reason for the pause. Okay. I'm consuming one. Drop width is 0. Length is 8, 6, and an 8. And again, just like STS, today you can change that drop length if you want to. You don't have to. If you're happy with what it gave you and you don't want to change it, you just leave it alone. If you want to change it, you just do L8 space 6. Say it's just 8, 6. Matter of fact, we'll just do that. And this is where the little button on the keyboard comes in. Remember that little button I showed you on the Opticon? Watch. I hit the button, keyboard pops up. I hit the button, keyboard goes away. So I can still see all of my screen. Plus you can see the screen kind of goes a little bit down, and I can take on my phone and scroll up and down and see a little bit more information. So I want to change the length from 8, 6, and 8 just to 8, 6. So I'm going to pop up my keyboard, and I'm going to type, I'm going to go ahead and do cap lock, just so I can see it's an L, and then 8 space 6. Done. Now my drop is 8, 6. Not 8, 6, and 8, which you can still see a little bit further down the screen. When I am done and I'm ready, and I'm done, let me get rid of my keyboard, I say go. I hit the G barcode, go. Boom. Now it just sent a remnant label to my printer. So I'm going to push all this stuff out of the way. I'm going to flip on my phone, and you can see my piece mark labels, my 71 G4, my 72 G6, and my remnant label is going to be at the very bottom. And it's now 8, 6. So the advantage of this emulating mirroring my iPhone, I can flip back to my camera, and there's my 71G4, and its barcode is 285. The 72G6, barcode 294. And then 184, and you see the drop length is 86. Kept the same RM number. Everything's good. So, I haven't seen any questions lately, so I guess that's good. That or everybody's gone to sleep. So, I've cut the pieces. So if I go look in EPM, real quick, and I do, this was sheet 71 and 72. So let's go over here, let's do 71. And that was a 71G4. There it is. And if I do piece tracking on it, or let's just do production status, you can see it was done at TFS today and it went through the SAW. What I've done is there's two different ways to handle this cut operation. You can set up a TFS station that's automatic in EPM, so we don't really push the word SAW to it. It actually, the fact that you did a TFS, it automatically backfills the SAW. In this case, I've turned that off, and STSX is physically pushing the word SAW to it, and obviously it's doing a TFS because that's just what we're doing. We're making that piece shorter. So it automatically fills in the data. And this is something really cool, is you see our barcode in EPM. So you see the 285, can't even talk. You see the 285 barcode. That's something else new in STSX, is we actually have the ability to push this data to EPM, and it's embedded in their software. Wow, that's white. Shorten that up a little bit. Okay, so, and I can do the same thing on the 72. So that's 71, 72. This is all pretty normal for STS stuff, 72G6. And everything I'm kind of showing you, except for the barcode being pushed, is standard in both products, production status. And there, its barcode was 294. Okay, cool. So I've showed you the raw material got shorter, and both pieces went through the TFS and the SAW station. Even though I typed in the word cut, excuse me, I can't even talk. Since I typed in the word cut here, come on, get to my, no, I'm maximizing the wrong window. I was supposed to be doing my iPhone. There we go. I did the word cut, but just like in STS today, you translate. This word could be knucklehead, and it still means saw in FabSuite. So that's standard with both products. It's just a translation. So the next thing I need to do is really quick, we'll do a fit, a weld, and QC, and then ship it. And then we're kind of done. So I can use either the true mobile computer or the smart client. Really doesn't matter. Both are about the same in terms of impact on the system. Let's go ahead and do like two of these pieces, 74. Let's go ahead and do these on the iPhone. Just like today on the mobile computers, you know, you've got function keys. Well, on the iPhone you don't. So we've got the little F1 button in the top. You click on that, and again, this is an iPhone thing. You get the spinner, and I want to exit this screen. Done. I'm back to the main menu, and I'm just going to go to the inspection screens because it's just a little bit easier than flipping between transactions and inspections. Okay. I'm going to use my little Opticon scanner, and I'm going to do a fit transaction. Oh, in transactions are timed. We can do the fit start and the fit stop. Something that is built into STSX is between the time that you scan the CL barcode and you confirm with the go, to actually perform the actual cut operation, but the time between those two scans is actually saved in our software and automatically pushed to EPM. So if you scan the CL barcode at 1:30 and it was 2 o'clock before you actually said go, 30 minutes is pushed to EPM on that transaction called SAW. Obviously, you wouldn't get that if you had it set up as an automatic TFS station. because then we wouldn't be pushing the word saw. It would just be automatic as part of the TFS operation. So there is some advantage to us pushing the data because we can actually push that time difference between scanning the CL barcode and saying go. All right, so I will scan my fit barcode, and I'll go ahead and say I'm in the fit bay. And worker, I'll say, is me, P2. So you can see on this screen, if your guys are used to using the screen, it's the same as before, 4 prompts. Before, if you wanted to go from worker P2 to a different worker, it was no big deal. It's just one cursor up. Today, you just scan a different barcode. Or if you wanted to go from fit to weld, which you'll see here in just a minute, it's just scanning the other barcode. You don't have to erase all the data going up the screen. You can, but you don't have to. So fit, now we'll scan the barcode. So I'll scan my 71G4, and it populates all its data. There's one of one, it weighs 173 pounds. And I'll scan my 72G6. Only one of the two have been cut. Now I want to change to weld. So I just scan the S weld barcode. Boom, nothing else changes. Oh, I don't want to pick on Paul. I want to pick on, let's say, Anthony. I'll do my barcodes. Same as STS, same process. And I want to go to final. I'm going to scan that. I'm going to stay in the fit bay. I'm going to still keep it on AWP as the worker. Done. And again, if we go over here, my 72G6 right there, go to production status. This is no different than regular STS. Everything gets filled in. All the dates. Close this. You can do the 71. Obviously, it's just going to be the same data. G4. 71G4. Yep. Production status. Same thing. First line. And again, the barcode's still there. In STSX, I'd go to view load. I want to choose that job. I'm going to make myself a little bit easier. I'm going to click here and go 71 and 72. Yep, get that off my keyboard. 71 and hold the shift key or control key. In this case, they're right beside each other, so there's really no difference. We'll see 71 and 72. Get information. Do the browse. Make the windows big as small as you want. You can actually split down here. You can make the bottom bigger or smaller. Obviously, you can rearrange columns just like you can in STS. You can sort by any particular column. You click here. It's no longer right click, it's just click. So click descending, click ascending. You do that on any column. That's pretty standard. So I want to go to my 71G4. 71G4, barcode 285, there's all my history. Cut, first, fit, weld, final. What shop I'm in, what was my location, who was the employee. There's that cut operation. Kind of what you see behind the scenes. There's a good, that's the good buried in our database. You can see which raw material line item was used to fulfill this cut, 184, and which line it was on. Yeah, wrong way. There's the CL number that was actually cut on. And the other one, same thing, 72G6, and I'm looking for barcode number 294, that one right there. See, its history is a little bit bigger. Okay. So the last thing to do is ship this thing out. I'll go ahead and close that. Didn't really have to, but I just like keeping a clean desktop. So we will just close, well, we'll just minimize this. I'll get rid of my cut list since I'm done with it. Close that. And let's go ahead and do shipping. And let's do shipping on, I guess, the true mobile computer. So I will take and move my iPhone off. move my true mobile computer back into the screen. And I will do, in this case, I don't have to hit F1 and hit F10 since the mobile computer actually has an F10, so I'll just do blue 0. Goes back to the menu. I like this menu much better. Don't like the spinner, but it is what it is with an iPhone. So shipping, click on it. I don't know why it does that. Show the changes in how it handles piece marks. Piece mark stickers if they change. No, piece mark stickers have changed, have not changed. It's just whether or not it would be a barcode label for a major and a minor. That's the only real difference. So if I flip this back on again, yeah. So there's my same label as you always see. You know, there's no difference. The label's still the same. You make it look any way you want. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. They keep saying, move it, move it. Oh, that's why y'all want me to move it. Move it to the screen that's active. So there's my 71G4 and all its data, and there's my 72G6. So it's just like today. You can make the label look any way you want, any information that you want. In reality, mine is a little bit older because today I'll usually put a barcode underneath that NXP 2021, and you'll see why here in a second, because now I'm going to have to type it. Usually today we put a barcode right underneath that job number so that I don't have to type it when I get to the ship screen. Let me see, turn off my, get back here. Oh, today you guys are familiar with those who print labels on demand, all that kind of good stuff, printing labels from the mobile computer or doing the raw material. We have that module called STS labels that always runs, that seems to always be shutting down. What we've done in the new product, STSX, on the server, the same place STSX is located on your server, there's now a service running. It's part of Bartender, and it's called Integration Builder. It's just part of their product. That's one reason we require you to be on 2016 or higher, because that's where we wrote the integration for, is 2016. And so 2019, it works just fine. 2016, we really can't support anything older than 2016, but it's a service. So it's running on the server all the time, and it's waiting for, just like STS labels was waiting to be told to print something, it's the exact same thing. So it's monitoring this particular table, and when you tell it to print a barcode, it goes into there, and since it's a service, pretty much it's always coming out. You don't have to worry about STS labels shutting down like we do today. And if the service shuts down, it's just like any other service. You have to go and start it, but that's pretty rare that services shut down. So I want to go to, oh, I'm in shipping. Okay, so I've got to do my job number, and this is where, like I said, my label typically would have a barcode on it, but since I printed out a older format, so you do J for the job number, and then this, again, this is why you don't type. NXP 2021. Again, this is easier on a mobile computer because you got a keyboard versus like your iPhone. Do the enter key. Just like today in STS, when you want a new load number, you just scan. I have actually got a barcode that says just L. Comes up and says, hey, you want to use load number 2? I'm going to say yes. Is this an interim load? All you guys are familiar with interim shipping. I'm going to say no, just to make it a little bit simpler in this demo. But we handle, you've got to have all this, you know, all the people do interim shipping know this. You got to have everything set up and running just perfect. In fact, perfectly routed, shipping route, and everything else. So, is this an interim load? I'm going to say no. Okay. Status, I'm going to use S load. Come on. What just happened? This is that awkward silence like Bill Gates says, Windows 10 never locks up, and it locked up on him. I'm going to bring over my emulator. I'm going to see what happened. We just shipped something out, load 1. Okay. JNXP 2021, load 1, load 2. Looks like it's there. Status is load. Huh. I wonder if my scanner, well, I've still got bars. This is embarrassing. I don't know what's going on. It's not valid. SLOAD. Maybe it just didn't see the enter key. Maybe it didn't. Every once in a while you scan a barcode, it won't do the automatic carriage return line feed. Maybe that's what just happened. I don't know. So location, I'm going to do C yard. That's where I'm going to park the truck. See, that must be what it was. It just didn't see the carriage return. Now I scan my barcode for my 72G6. You can see the count in this screen. It's here in the middle. Count is 1, weight's 249. Used to be at the bottom, but now we've kind of put in a little bit more information because you can kind of go up and down like this. So we moved that count up. So it's just right underneath the previous barcode that you just scanned. So I got one piece on the load, and that was 294, and so I'll do 285. And again, this is pretty normal. Go to EPM, go to here, go to production control, go to load tracking. There's my load 2. It's going to the job site because it said there's no interim shipping. And there's my material. And of course, it's been loaded. Okay. And again, you can just print out a packing list. It's typical F6. Printing out a packing list. You can print out a packing list, and it'll come out of the printer. You'll actually get to choose which screen and which printer. Matter of fact, let me bring that back to the foreground so you can actually see it's which I want to do the packing list, just packing list, not with barcodes. So I'll just do the packing list. And then you get to choose your printers. I'm just going to use the default printer. Just hit that, and then here in a second, it's going to come out of my laser printer. But that's just our copy. It's not the Fab Suite copy. We still cannot print their paperwork. But you just got to go in here and print out theirs if you want to print it out. Yes. Piece mark, minor piece mark stickers right now show the route quantity of the main mark. If a piece mark, piece track is minor mark, I was hoping the sticker would show the route of the minor mark if different from its main mark. The route code is the route code. If you actually have a route code, I don't know how you could have a route code different for a minor. Maybe you can than the major. Maybe you can. I'm not that familiar with the routing feature, but if there's a route code associated with it, that data is stored in our database, and you print that on the label. Pretty much. Not everything, but pretty much most of what you see in the view load screen in terms of columns of data is available to be sent to bartender to print out on the label. So let's just do 70 through 79, hold the shift key, do like that, and then you can also just use the control key and do also 83. So that's what it would look like. Get info, browse. Didn't get into a lot of the other things like the columns displayed up here on the top. There's a lot of data here. The Fab Suite GUID, you can actually see the GUID that Fab Suite is giving us, the minor GUID that's being passed to us. There's the interface. This is a Fab Suite interface. The one difference is when you go to import, today when you import, we create the job on the fly. In the new program, you literally have to go to the job screen and set it up because you have to pick a division. So you literally have to go to the job screen, set the job, then you can import. You cannot, it will not let you create the job on the fly. You've got to go and set the job. That's it. Oh, okay. Oh, down here, settings top, settings bottom. Go in here, you can save or modify. I want to modify. And here's everything that you can put on the top. Lots and lots and lots of data. There's like 250, 260 data elements that we actually throw at bartender. And as we have requirements for more, we just add to the list. But today it's like almost 260, 250, 260 data elements we throw. And that's, again, same order. Top is the left, bottom is the right. See what table it's coming from, the piece marks table, the ID serial number table. But we can handle minors much easier in the new product than we can the old one. You just decide whether or not you want to keep them or not, and they get a barcode, and they're all there, they're all together. Okay. I think we're probably almost at the end. We've got this a little bit more than an hour, hour and 15. So I'll go ahead and conclude here. I know we've sent out some constant contact information about STSX. If you have any questions, give us a call. But some of the major, in one of the constant contacts we sent out, we kind of had a little checkbox list of things that are different between STS and STSX. One of them, top one is it's all browser based. So you can do this on your iPhone, just like I did on my iPad, like I've done on a mobile computer. But again, you got to get a better browser for the mobile computer, or you can run it on your PC. Doesn't really matter. It's all real time. Everything you're viewing is all real time. It's multilingual. That's something that we didn't have the capability now. Now it's all multilingual. It is also a multi-tenant database, so it supports corporations. One corporation, multiple divisions. So if you have a couple of shops, you can keep the data separate. Your raw material separate. Your raw material, as you receive it, goes into the division that you've signed in as. So in my case, I signed as AP, so everything went into West Shop. And it's also can be routed. Your routing system today can be routed across most routing, like a routing. You go fit, weld, and QC, and then you go to paint. That's at the south shop. You're at the north shop. You can route it to the south shop. So our routing is across multiple divisions, what we call divisions. You would call shops, but our routing system will support multiple divisions. And usually you have to be logged in as a corporate person to set that up. You can't be logged in as AP West Shop and set up a multiple division route. You got to be logged in as corporate because you got corporate. You got the big picture. So I think that's the big differences right there. Also, one that for you guys that are familiar with it, we keep the GUID from FAPSuite. So if the GUID changes sequences or lot, no big deal. The barcode number doesn't go away. The other big thing is on the import, you get the big screen. You make all your choices. Matter of fact, let me just pull up. Let me bring in the whole job to show you. I'm not going to actually hit import, but I want you to see what it looks like when I bring everything up. And then we'll call it quits, and we'll be done in about an hour and a half. Obviously, if you have a big job, I'd recommend bringing it in by sequence or something like that. Obviously, if you've had a piece mark mean move between sequence 2 and sequence 3, you shouldn't just bring in sequence 2 because it's going to not want to do with the pieces that moved away to sequence 3. So if you had movement between two sequences, you need to bring those two in together, sequence 2 and sequence 3. I don't know if this is considered a big job or a small job. It's about 2,200 items. I don't know if it's big or small. I know some of the jobs I've seen, some clients, there's 2 digits in front of that comma. Okay, so if I go here, usually the very first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all my items that I'm wanting to throw away, miscellaneous nuts, bolts, and that's accomplished by doing the hide ignore. And plus these minors. See, these minors are not coming in, no import, because I've said don't keep the minors on this particular job. And that is job specific. Today it's a preference setting. And you got to remember, check a box when you're doing the import to say yes or no per import. But this one's actually a setting per job, and it inherits that when it goes to import. So you can say, hey, job 2021, we keep the minus job 2020, we don't. These updates. So what I typically do is always sort it by the import quantity, because these are the ones you got to worry about, is the big ones. Do I want 65 barcodes or do I want one? I've previously imported in this entire job, and you can see last time I did one label. Then I dropped below the 30, and it did 22. It did a matching number because I want one each. And I can go in here and change it. It doesn't matter. I can change my mind right now and say, hey, I want 2 labels, and that basically each label is worth 11. This is a whole lot like what the FabTrol import used to look like. And then you just hit import and you walk away, and then it's done. Well, it's done whenever it's done. But somebody asked at one point some time ago, last year and this year, we actually know that there is, in this case, 56 19B3s. So we can actually print that data on the label. I've always told people we can't do that in the current STS. So you could, it's not going to say 1 of 56, 2 of 56, it'll say 1 of 56. So that you know that there's 56 of them, and this is 1 of the 56. We don't do like in EPM, they call it I forget what that number is, they call it an instance number. We don't really have it like an instance number. Ours is the 10-digit number, the barcode number. And that's something else. We can handle a bigger number or smaller number. Again, that's a preference setting on the barcode number. So if for some reason we've run into issues in the past where we did a project with like Bechtel or Fluor, and we're dealing with another party, and their barcode number is 13 digits long. We couldn't take it. We couldn't do anything. No big deal. We can take that today. I think ours maxed out at like 20 or 30 characters. It's pretty big now. So we're not really stuck on 10. We use 10 because it's a nice round number. But if somebody else you're working with has a different length, shorter or longer, no big deal. We can handle that in STSX. Okay. Not seeing any more questions on the chat. I think we're going to go ahead and call it quits here. Again, we will post this up to the website for anybody that wants to watch it again. And I really appreciate you guys attending today, and hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Thank you.